So imagine this, your highest margin spring apparel collection. It just hit the loading dock.
Yeah, the logistics team completely nailed it.
Right. The physical supply chain worked perfectly, and the garments are just, like, sitting right there in the back room. But then, for the next 3 weeks or so, your stores are going to bleed thousands of dollars in lost conversions.
Which is the absolute worst case scenario for any operator.
Oh, totally. And why does it happen? Because the highly produced training video, the one explaining all the unique selling points of that new collection, is still stuck in some corporate edit bay.
It's agonizing. The associates are out on the floor flying blind.
Exactly. And full-price buyers are just walking right out the door.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are a retail executive managing operations across dozens or even hundreds of U.S. stores, that scenario probably keep you up at night.
Oh, without a doubt. It's a massive structural flaw in the industry right now.
So today, we are looking at how AI video is finally targeting retail's most invisible, expensive bottleneck.
Yeah, because everyone is talking about AI fixing retail, but very few people are showing the actual mechanics of how this technology fits into like a chaotic Tuesday morning shift at a physical store.
Where margin is actually made or lost.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for today's deep dive is really to cut through that generalized tech hype and examine how you can actually close that knowledge gap.
And we have some really good material to work with today.
We do. We are synthesizing two very distinct sources. First, we've got an industry blog post from a company called Multimedia Plus, or MMP.
Right.
And second, we are analyzing the official event platform and all the executive takeaways from the recent Retail Technology Show, or RTS, over in London.
Yeah, and looking at those RTS takeaways really provides the essential baseline for this whole conversation.
It really does.
I mean, RTS is arguably the heartbeat of retail innovation right now. It draws over 15,000 senior retail professionals and showcases something like 450 tech suppliers.
That is a massive footprint.
Oh, it's huge. We are talking about executives from giants like M&S and Gymshark walking the floor, sharing best practices, all of that.
I have to admit, though, when I first saw the London RTS data in our sources, I was a little skeptical.
Really? How come?
Well, just think about our listener, right?
Right.
They're likely managing operations in Chicago or Dallas. They're dealing with U.S. consumer habits and American labor models.
Ah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So is a European trade show really the most accurate leading indicator for what needs to happen on U.S. sales floors?
It's a fair question, but it actually is the ultimate barometer. And
Right.
the reason is that the underlying operational friction of retail is completely universal.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Whether you are selling activewear in Texas or luxury goods in Mayfair, the core challenge is the same. It's about scaling human knowledge across a distributed workforce.
So the pain points translate across the pond.
Exactly. Executives like Archie Norman at M&S, they are dealing with the exact same margin pressures as an executive in New York. So when you look at what was turning heads at XL London, you are seeing the global standard for the tech stack of tomorrow.
And what was undeniably turning heads this year was AI video. I mean, it was the absolute talk of the town.
Oh, it dominated the conversation.
If you walked the floor of that convention center, you were just bombarded with monitors displaying these incredibly lifelike AI avatars.
It's kind of surreal to see in person.
It is. You saw systems generating localized audio on the fly, demonstrating real-time translation into dozens of languages.
And from a purely visual standpoint, standing in front of a shiny trade show monitor, the capability is staggering.
It really is. But it creates this very potent illusion, doesn't it? This illusion that the content problem has been completely solved.
Yeah. The category is undeniably taking shape, and it is easy to see why retail leaders walking that floor would be captivated.
Right, because you see an avatar speaking perfect Mandarin, and you just assume, oh, great, my global training rollout is fixed.
Exactly. But the blog post from Multimedia Plus offers a very necessary kind of sobering reality check about what you are actually seeing on those screens.
Yeah, the illusion of speed really masks a very broken pipeline.
It does.
I want to push back on that trade show hype for a second, using a bit of an analogy here.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, looking at the reality of how these standard AI video tools actually work in a corporate environment, it feels like we have invented a race car with a top speed of 200 miles an hour.
Okay, I'm with you.
But we still have to pave the track by hand right in front of it.
Oh, that is perfectly stated.
Right. Because if the video generation tools are so incredibly fast now, why is the overall process of getting a completed training module to an associate's mobile device still so agonizingly slow.
What's fascinating here is that the underlying workflow, the actual human labor required to get from point A to point B, hasn't fundamentally changed at all.
Not one bit.
Standard AI video tools massively improve the very final production step. They render the video and synthesize the voice incredibly quickly, but they still rely on severe human bottlenecks upstream.
So the race car is fast, but the pit crew is still using hand tools.
Exactly.
And by upstream, we're meaning the actual informational inputs required before the AI can even begin doing its job, right?
Precisely. Someone on the corporate team still needs to sit down and manually write the script.
Right.
And then another person has to go hunting through decentralized internal servers or, digging through email chains with buyers just to pull the correct up-to-date product imagery.
Which is always a nightmare.
Always. And then someone has to structure that core message so the AI actually knows what to say and what to display. The AI is a powerful engine, sure, but it sits completely idle until a human manually gathers and formats all those raw materials.
That is such a huge point. If a corporate training manager still has to chase down a buyer for product specs, translate those specs into a readable script, and then format high-resolution images before the AI even boots up the friction, is still enormous.
It's massive.
So how does this specific friction impact the reality of a retail environment?
Yeah.
Because retail is not corporate finance, it's not software sales. The cadence is entirely different.
It's a completely different beast, and the standard approach to AI video breaks down in retail because of that exact cadence.
Right.
In this industry, the challenge is never about producing one single, highly polished keynote video for a quarterly meeting.
No, not at all.
It is about keeping up with a relentless, punishing pace of inventory churn.
It's the sheer volume of sticky Rs.
Exactly. Constant new product launches,
Ah.
seasonal assortments that shift entirely every few weeks.
Yeah.
You have the immediate pressing need to train high-turnover associates consistently across hundreds of locations simultaneously.
It's nonstop.
The business moves at lightning speed, and standard AI video generation just cannot keep up because manual input scales linearly. I mean, if you have 50 new products, you need to manually write 50 new scripts.
Think about the financial impact of that on your own stores.
Right.
You mentioned the knowledge supply chain earlier.
Right.
A lot of organizations pour millions into optimizing their physical supply chain, making sure the freight moves from the warehouse to the back room in record time.
They obsess over it.
They really do.
Yeah.
But the knowledge supply chain, actually getting the crucial selling points into the associate's head, is completely disconnected. It's lagging weeks behind.
And that lag is expensive.
Extremely. Every hour that an associate doesn't know the key features of a high-margin item, that item sits on the rack.
Yeah.
Eventually, it hits markdown velocity, and you are eating into your own profitability simply because the training was too slow.
The disconnect between those two supply chains is arguably the largest hidden tax in physical retail today.
Wow. Yeah.
Organizations are functioning as if getting the box to the store is the finish line, when in reality, it is only the starting line for the associate.
That's a great way to put it. But I've challenged this premise just a little bit, though.
Okay, go for it.
From a historical perspective, isn't making the video itself the hardest part of the equation?
Well,
I mean, traditionally, rendering a video meant hiring a spokesperson, booking a studio, shooting the footage, and paying for localized translation for different regions.
right, the old way.
That used to take weeks and cost an absolute fortune.
Right.
So if an AI generates a lifelike avatar that speaks multiple languages instantly, shouldn't that be enough of a massive win for a retail ops team? Are you just being kind of greedy by demanding more?
It is a very logical question, but we really need to view this through the lens of modern retail operations. Creating the video is simply no longer the primary bottleneck.
It's shifted.
Yes. The true bottleneck now is gathering the thousands of inputs and writing thousands of localized, accurate scripts. Standard AI does not remove the dependency on content creation. It merely speeds up content production.
Okay. Production versus creation. Let's dig into that distinction because it sounds like a crucial paradigm shift for an executive trying to allocate tech budget.
It is the defining difference. Production is rendering the pixels. It is the avatar moving its lips and the voice being synthesized.
Right.
Creation, on the other hand, is the cognitive heavy lifting of deciding what those pixels actually mean.
Got it.
If you have 500 new items dropping for a holiday collection, Having an AI that can render a video in 5 minutes offers zero operational relief if it still takes your team 3 weeks to manually write 500 individual scripts and source the visual assets.
Oh, absolutely.
You've optimized the easiest 10% of the process and completely ignored the hardest 90%.
Which brings up a great point. If the flashy tools showcased at RTS are only solving the production side, who is actually fixing the upstream creation problem?
That is the million-dollar question.
The industry clearly needs the root cause addressed. And this leads us directly back to the blog post from Multimedia Plus. They are analyzing a specific tool called MMP AI Studio.
Yes.
And the twist here, and this is a really fascinating strategic positioning, is that MMP wasn't even a vendor at the Retail Technology Show.
Yeah, they were conspicuously absent from the exhibition floor.
They weren't on the floor competing in the best-looking Avatar arms race. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
They are looking at the RTS hype from the outside in, actively challenging the prevailing trade show narrative.
They are essentially telling the industry that all the investment is flowing to the wrong end of the pipeline.
Exactly.
That outside perspective is critical because it allows them to completely invert the workflow. How MMP AI Studio approaches the problem from the exact opposite direction is the real breakthrough here.
Tell me more about that inversion.
Instead of starting with a blank page, a manual script, and a frantic search for JPEGs across 5 different departments, the system fundamentally changes the required input. It simply requires a product URL.
Wait. We need to pause there because that sounds almost too simple for an enterprise environment. You are talking about a standard web link.
Oh, yes.
Just the URL to the product page on the retailer's public e-commerce site.
That's it. That single URL becomes the master key that gets the entire process moving. The system uses that link to bypass all the corporate bottlenecks.
Wow.
From that URL alone, the system automatically scrapes the high-resolution imagery directly from the site. It identifies the key product attributes, the material specs, the pricing, and then, crucially, it automatically generates a script.
Okay, the source material specifically mentions that it generates this script in what it calls retail floor language.
Yes, which is vital.
Let's explore how that actually works under the hood, because an e-commerce page is usually just a very dry list of bullet points. A list of specs is definitely not a training module.
No, it's not. And the mechanism here is what elevates this from a simple web scraper to a true training solution.
Right.
When you feed it the URL, the system doesn't just read the HTML and regurgitate the text. It runs that raw e-commerce data through large language models that are specifically tuned for retail environments.
Okay.
It understands how to filter out the dry technical specifications and translate them into actionable customer benefits.
So if the website says a jacket features, I don't know, hydrophobic polyurethane mesh, the AI knows an associate shouldn't actually say that to a customer.
Right. Nobody talks like that.
Instead, it translates it to something like, when your customer asks if they can wear this on a rainy commute, you can assure them the specialized mesh repels water instantly.
Exactly. It is pulling the specs and automatically writing it the way a top-performing store manager would actually explain it to a new hire during a morning huddle.
That's incredible.
It contextualizes the raw data into empathy-driven sales knowledge. The AI understands the difference between a feature and a benefit.
Right.
And it executes this entire sequence, scraping the data, restructuring the narrative, mapping the imagery to the script, and creating the final video.
The execution details regarding the turnaround time are where the ROI really becomes undeniable for an executive, I think.
Oh, for sure.
According to the MMP blog, a typical 30 to 90-second training or customer-facing video is generated in under 20 minutes.
Which is just wild.
Under 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that pipeline incorporates highly realistic default voices, so you aren't waiting around to cast talent or record fresh audio.
Nope, it's all baked in.
You literally drop a URL into the studio, you go handle a supply chain escalation, and you come back to a fully produced 90-second asset ready to be pushed to the sales floor.
The efficiency gain is difficult to comprehend if your baseline is a traditional content pipeline that measures turnaround in weeks or months.
Yeah, you're so used to it taking forever.
Right. You are collapsing a multi-departmental workflow into a 20-minute automated sequence.
It is the equivalent of hiring a world-class sous chef who goes to the market, preps all the ingredients, cooks the meal, and plates it beautifully.
I love that analogy.
Yeah. You don't have to chop and you don't have to cook. You just have to taste it and maybe add a single pinch of salt before it goes out to the dining room.
The sous chef analogy is perfect, but we really must emphasize that pinch of salt.
Right. Let's talk about that.
There is a vital nuance regarding risk management that retail executives need to understand before deploying this. MMP AI Studio is highly automated, but it is not completely autonomous.
Which is probably a relief to hear.
Definitely. It is not a rogue AI running wild without supervision.
Nobody wants an unsupervised AI hallucinating claims about a product.
Yeah.
You cannot have a training video telling associates a winter coat is fireproof just because the AI misunderstood a spec sheet.
Exactly. That is a massive brand safety and legal risk.
Huge.
So, human oversight remains non-negotiable. The system still requires a user to do a minimal amount of work.
Just to keep things in check.
Right. The AI acts as your ultra-efficient sous chef, doing 99% of the labor, but you remain the executive chef.
I see.
Someone on your team needs to do a quick review to approve the content. You ensure the brand voice is perfectly aligned, check the factual accuracy of the claims, or slightly tweak the output before you press the button that sends it to thousands of associates.
The operational difference between spending 10 labor hours building a training module from scratch versus spending 2 minutes reviewing and approving a finished product is a seismic shift.
It changes everything.
It frees up your corporate training staff to focus on high-level strategy rather than just, chasing down JPEGs.
Now that we understand how an entire seasonal assortment, potentially hundreds or thousands of individual SKUs, can be scaled into high-quality video content in minutes rather than weeks, we really have to look at how this fundamentally alters the retail ecosystem.
It completely changes the timeline of associate readiness. In the MMP blog, they make a very powerful observation.
Yeah, I know the quote you're thinking of.
They state that after nearly 3 decades of working in the retail technology space, the gap between a product launching and an associate being able to confidently sell it has never been smaller.
This raises an important question, because that gap used to be measured in business quarters.
Literally months.
Sometimes, by the time the training video finally arrived at the store level, the product was already being moved to the clearance rack.
Which defeats the whole purpose.
Exactly. So, bridging that gap to near zero isn't just an operational win regarding speed. It is a profound strategic shift. We are moving from manual content creation to automated content generation.
Right.
And because the generation is so seamless, it allows a single product URL to serve double duty.
Double duty. Let's unpack the financial implications of that. You were talking about a single investment yielding multiple assets.
Exactly. Think of the AI Studio as a translating prism. You shine the raw product URL on one side, and the AI splits that data into 2 distinct, highly optimized beams of light.
Okay, I like that visual.
The exact same core pipeline can produce a video designed internally for associate training, focusing on cross-selling techniques and handling objections.
Right.
Then, with slight automated adjustments to tone and length, it can produce a video optimized for external customer engagement, ready for TikTok or a clienteling app.
That is brilliant. The associate is learning from the exact same foundational truth that the customer is seeing on social media.
Yes.
There is no longer a disconnect where the marketing department is promising one thing online and the store associate has no idea what the customer is talking about because they read a completely different training manual.
The alignment between external marketing and internal knowledge is instantaneous.
So what does this all mean for the retail executive analyzing this tech landscape?
It's the ultimate takeaway.
It means you no longer have to make that painful historical trade-off between speed and quality when managing your frontline staff. For years, you were forced to choose.
You really were.
You either accepted that your training would be high-quality video but arrive weeks late, or you accepted that it would be fast but consist of a dense, poorly formatted PDF that nobody on the floor actually read.
And we all know nobody reads those PDFs.
Exactly. With this inverted workflow, you can finally match the speed of your associate training to the speed of your physical supply chain.
Achieving that parity is the holy grail of physical retail operations.
Truly.
When the product arrives on the truck at the loading dock, the knowledge of how to sell it has already arrived on the associate's mobile device, natively formatted in high-quality, engaging video.
Let's pull all these threads together and kind of recap the journey of this deep dive.
Sounds good.
We started by looking at the incredibly flashy AI avatars lighting up the monitors at the Retail Technology Show in London, which, serve as a global indicator of where the industry is heading.
Right.
We pushed past that surface-level visual hype to uncover the hidden manual bottlenecks of standard AI video, the illusion of speed that still forces corporate teams to manually write scripts and gather images.
The hand-paved racetrack.
Exactly. And finally, we explored how solutions like MMP AI Studio are actively flipping that workflow upside down. They bypass the manual bottleneck entirely, taking a simple e-commerce URL and turning it into a 30 to 90-second training video, utilizing realistic default voices, all in under 20 minutes.
It's just phenomenal.
It requires just a quick touch of human executive chef approval before going live, fundamentally closing the gap between product launch and associate readiness.
It really serves as a masterclass in solving the right problem. It is not just about making video production marginally faster. It is about automating the actual creation bottleneck that eats up labor hours.
Absolutely.
And if we look ahead and if we accept that AI is going to close this product knowledge gap to near zero, I want to leave you with an implication to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
If associates no longer need to spend hours in the back room memorizing product specifications and feature lists, the definition of what makes a good retail worker fundamentally changes.
Oh, that shifts the entire paradigm of store operations.
It does. When complex product knowledge is instantly democratized by AI, does the human associate's value shift entirely?
Wow.
Do they transition from being an information provider, someone who just recites specs from memory, to being an empathy and experience creator?
That is a deep thought.
Because if the AI has the technical facts covered instantly via a mobile device, the human is freed up to focus entirely on connection, reading body language, and building loyalty. How will you hire differently tomorrow when you no longer need your frontline staff to be walking encyclopedias today?
That is an incredible question to think about, especially as you look at your labor models for the next fiscal year.
Highly relevant for everyone listening.
Definitely. Well, that heavy cloud of AI hype we talked about at the beginning, it is definitely clearing up, revealing some highly actionable strategies. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking those tough questions. Keep looking past the trade show hype to find the actual operational value. And we will see you next time.